you've been a master of quotes and great sayings in the press and the media for a number of years. And not too long ago, you said, while Putin is playing chess, Obama is playing checkers.
No, it's not me. This is not but everybody wanted to just attribute it to me. I mean,
who said it?
I don't know, but it's
but you got to take credit for it, Gary.
No, I don't, because
if nobody knows, you got to take credit.
No, it's look, how could I, just give Putin so much credit?
that's the right answer. But Gary,
people, when I stopped playing chess and I moved into what many believe mistakenly and call Russian politics. So because politics, in this country, it's you register your campaign and you super PAC, raise money, you go in a tour, you go on television, you have debates, and then you have elections. Yes, I mean in Putin's Russia it was all just it's a fake, it's a one big window. So, and people ask me whether chess could help me to navigate in these rough waters of so-called Russian politics, and my response was absolutely not, because in chess we have fixed rules and unpredictable results. In Russia, in Putin's Russia, is exactly the opposite.
But
so that's why Putin is a poker player. I always say he's playing poker, and he's a very good poker player. Because in poker, unlike in chess, you don't have transparency. It's not 100% information available, and you can win with a very weak hand if you can bluff, and if you can raise the stakes. And if you can read the weak mind of your opponent. So the weak hand is less important than a weak mind. And Putin always played, with, I believe, weak hand, but recognizing that the psychological pressure during the game, could force his opponents to fold out the cards, no matter how good the cards are.
But how is he stopped, especially over the next 14 months, when he must realize that the next administration, either Republican or Democrat, is going to be much harder on him? How is he stopped? Especially,
okay, are we talking about him?
Putin.
I just said, he doesn't have 14 months horizon. His horizon is 14 hours.
Right.
So it's.
But I'm saying, how do we, as Americans, how does this administration stop him?
This administration?
Stop him over the next 14 months.
No, it can't. Because it can't, it won't. Yeah, it's the because the Cold War or anything like Cold War, it's a battle of wits. It's a psychological battle. This battle was already lost. So when Obama diluted these infamous red line in Syria, I said that's it, because for Putin it was a signal that they could move on. The problem with with the United States and Europe, but let's talk about the United States, losing credibility of the highest office means that at the next iteration, at the next move of this battle, you'll have to come up with a much stronger measures. So Ronald Reagan, blamed by many as a warmonger, didn't use much of a military force. Definitely less than all four presidents after him. And how many Americans died in the combat during Reagan years? There were two big terrorist attacks. But in the combat, it's not many. And the results? The end of communism. Technically, it was under Bush, but we understand that tear down this wall was a signal. So it's about credibility. And I always, when people say Putin is so dangerous, so how can you take on Putin? Because, he has nukes and, he's a president of Russia, he's a dictator, he's crazy. Are you telling me that Vladimir Putin is more dangerous than Joseph Stalin in 1948? When Harry Truman had to face Soviet dictator with the probably most powerful army in the world, deciding to take over West Berlin. For 11 months, American and British planes have been supplying food, all all the bare necessities to the besieged Berlin, and Stalin hasn't shot a single American or British plane. Why? Again, because successful dictators have a strong animal instinct. They can smell weakness, they can smell the blood, but they also can smell strengths. Harry Truman already dropped two nuclear bombs. And he proved to be a very, a tough man who was ready to take on Stalin anywhere in the world. Stalin walked away. So, similar things happened later, 15 years later, with John F. Kennedy. I'm not here just to decide, his decision not to support the invasion at Bay of Pigs, but Khrushchev read it as a weakness. Next step, Soviet missiles in Cuba. So some people are still saying, oh, if Kennedy, ordered American planes to destroy Soviet planes in Cuba, it could lead to almost a World War III. Maybe, but 2 years later, a year and a half later, he had to actually make much tougher decision because that was already on the verge of the World War III. Instead of, just confronting, a few dozens of Soviet planes there, he had to confront Soviet nuclear submarines. And again, when they realized that he was not going to blink, they backed off. And of course, when Reagan said evil empire, don't tell me that Soviet Union, even with this hereditary Politburo, was less powerful than Putin's Russia. So it's about political will and showing, this no desire to fight, and moreover, showing desire to walk away. That was declared by this administration. And again, I can hardly blame the administration because 2 times American public voted for Obama, and he was not hiding his intentions. So he can say, I have a mandate of 70 million or so Americans who were tired of the wars and wanted just to come back, and they didn't care about the rest of the world because we could stay here without paying much attention. So the problem is that when you are elected leader, especially the leader of the greatest country in the world, you have responsibilities beyond your mandate because sometimes situation changes, and we could spend endless time discussing American invasion in Iraq in 2003, but even if you blame it, and the reason for me, the reason I cannot blame it because as someone who was born and raised in a communist country, I cannot criticize any decision that led to the demise of a dictatorship. So it's psychological. So though I can accept arguments that it was not well thought and it was probably not a good move, but let's not concentrate on 2003. Even if it was a mistake, it has created a certain situation, and I can use chess parallels. If you have a bad plan and you realize it's a bad plan, the one thing you cannot do, you cannot go back saying, oh, I made a mistake 6 moves earlier, I want to go back. No, it's already a situation at the board. You have to deal with that. And even if you change the players, you still have the same situation. And the biggest mistake is just to say, maybe we have to recover, our advantages that we lost 6, 7 moves ago, and maybe we should, do things differently. Yes, but if it's a game, that you have an opponent, and the opponent is also playing, and if you try to go back, you will be exposed. So removing American troops from the mess that has been created was a much bigger mistake because it created vacuum. And the vacuum, it's like I always say, power abhors vacuum. It's like the laws of physics. So if you create vacuum, somebody fills it. And we know who did it, and that was expected. And now we are just, we're seeing that, this vacuum being filled everywhere. And you mentioned Crimea and Eastern Ukraine. What else, it makes me almost sick is that when I hear, oh, what a surprise, How could Putin do that? It's ridiculous because it's against his interest. What do you mean against his interest? It's just, he's being still judged as somebody who is elected, who has to run the campaign. No, to the contrary, he has to demonstrate that he defies the international treaties, all the laws. He defies America. He attacks everybody. Okay, of course, Jews are on the menu. That's it doesn't go away. So it's always this subject is always revived when needed. For him, annexation of Crimea was just the demonstration that he could go beyond international law, which helped him to present his image of Putin the invincible, Putin the powerful, Putin the ruler of the world, which can, of course, Russian propaganda that has been working 24/7 has been bringing to the household of ordinary Russians.